Hello everyone and welcome to part 3 of episode 1 of Gamers on Gaming, the podcast for gamers brought to you by your host, Shady Knights. Now that we've gotten everything else out of the way, let's get on a subject on gaming that seems to have been brought up a lot recently. What we're going to be talking about now is video games being looked on as art. Now, look, designers, publishers, video game enthusiasts, gamers, everyone really needs to stop this argument. You have people on one side saying that games should be more than just fun. It should have thoughtful things happening in it, meaningful experiences, and it should provoke you to think. It should get you to think in different ways and what have you. And in the other side, you have people who are saying, I don't really need my games to be more than art. To be more than fun. Thank you very much. Fun's just fine. Thank you. If you could just get fun right, I'll be happy. The thing is, people don't seem to quite understand what art is. That's the real issue to this entire argument. What do you think of when you think of art? You think of what? Sculptures, classical music, paintings, pictures. You think that's the kind of stuff that comes into your head when you think of art. Maybe even books as well. But the thing is, what makes all of those things art? What makes Mozart, Mark Twain, Leonardo da Vinci, what makes all these people artists? It's not necessarily the work that they do. What makes them artists is that it's appreciated by many people. Now, it can be argued that the work that they do is looked on as genius. That's why it's, art or what have you. But there are plenty of geniuses who aren't necessarily considered artists. Albert Einstein, I don't think anyone ever called him an artist, but wasn't he a bona fide genius? The thing is, just as beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so is art. So you really can't even use the genius thing, because there are varying degrees of geniuses, and there's geniuses for every area, and each genius can make something artistic, but only to the people who can understand and appreciate it. I may not be able to understand and appreciate old classical music, sculptures, paintings, and whatnot, but I can appreciate the current things that we have. What many of the classical lovers may not appreciate, like comics, cartoons, manga. Those people may not think that any of that stuff is art. They might not even think that the music I listen to today is really artistic, has any artistic value. But I and many people of my time do think that it's art. So the thing is, that solves it right there. Art is merely how the consumer observes it. The simple fact that we know that we're trying to decipher the grand mystery behind the Mona Lisa doesn't really make it art. It's the fact that people appreciate the painting. It's a good painting. It's very well done, and people like it. That's what makes it art, not the whole mystique behind it. There doesn't have to be a great mystery or anything. And unfortunately, a lot of people look at some of that kind of art as, dull, boring, and whatnot. And that's where the disconnect comes from. You have people who are saying that the games need to be more than fun, which is very true, because fun is the bare minimum of what you should get in a video game. And considering that we pay $60 for video games now as opposed to the $50 we used to pay, fun, it does need to be more than fun. It had better provide meaningful experiences for that price. But unfortunately, we need to. If you're going to say that video games need to be more than fun, they need to be more than artistic. They need to have some artistic value. They don't need to. You are wrong when you step into that pool when you say that it has to have more than. It has to have some artistic value. All things that have anything that has as much work put into it as a video game has some art, has artistic value in it, point blank, because it encapsulates the writing of a book, the music of a symphony, the movies, the movies of a movie or a television show, and it gets the viewer or the player involved in all of this at times. So if that's not art, then maybe you need to define what art is, and then you can say that games need to be coming. But that's just what games are. Whether you appreciate the art that games are now or not is beside the point. But what do the people say that the classics, the music and all this stuff? What do they say that those things do? They get you thinking. They expand your horizons and whatnot. Video games do just the same thing. You have your history game. You have Uncharted, which I'm pretty sure has gotten plenty of people interested in history. You got your sci-fi games. You got your fantasy games. All those can broaden a person's outlook on life. Be it someone who's trying a fantasy game or a sci-fi game for the first time. It's just like listening to a different type of music or watching a new style of movie for the first time. Once you've watched it, your field of mental vision has been broadened. Now, should games have more depth to them, like story and message? I guess story, messages, and something that yeah. Should games have more things like stories and messages in them? Well, yes and no. The games that do need story, that do mention story and whatnot, they have to have a good story. They have to have a good message. And they should always be striving to improve these messages and stories. But not all games really need stories or messages or anything. You got Tetris and Bejeweled, things that aren't necessarily fueled by their grand storylines. They're just simple, fun things to play, which is good. We need simple, fun things to play, and we need more complex, involving things to play. But that's really the only issue about this artistic argument. We need to stop it. It's art. If you all if you all accept that video games is a viable art form, then it is a viable art form. It is not when no one accepts it. When one person accepts it, to that one person, if nobody else, it's art. And therefore, it is art, whether you like it or not. I don't think Impressionism is really art. When people, throw paint around and whatnot, and it shows the grand detrimentation of the world and their torment. As far as I'm concerned, I can do the same thing, and everyone will point, and everyone will look at me really funny and ask me how come I threw paint all over the wall. But some people like that. I don't think it has no artistic value to me, but to other people it does. I'm pretty sure plenty of you can think of at least two things off the top of your head that you would call nonsense, yet for some reason you know plenty of people who love it. So just as books have books, movies, radio, like old radio shows, just as those things have had issues with people thinking that it's trash and garbage and whatnot, games are under the same fire right now. And why are games under the same fire as all books and whatnot? Because they say they get you thinking. It gets your mind, it gets you thinking evil things. But if it can get you thinking evil things like murdering people, then it can obviously get you thinking good things like watching your diet, eating right, taking care of others, doing community service just because, just to help out just to make the world a better place. If games can teach you how to do something bad, they can teach you how to do something good. And if art can inspire if art can inspire bad things, then it can also inspire good things, which video games can do. You can't say that video games just cause people to murder folks, murder hookers and whatnot, and then not mention that video games can also teach you how to save a life. It can be done. Have we seen those games? Maybe not in the best sense, but actually it's about as the whole DS Doctor. I don't remember the name of the DS game, but it's about the doctor. I think Dr. Layton or something like that. But anyway, it's a doctor. He saves lives. I think draws pentagrams and whatnot. But that's about as logical as you actually, sleeping with a hooker, then managing to, take a baseball bat to her and run her over just for the money that you took. I would suspect, I have no general knowledge of how prostitutes work, But I would suspect that they would have some level of protecting themselves or whatnot, and wouldn't let you just, run them over or hit them with the bat. It does. Prostitutes do get murdered out here, but I don't think the people who do that learn how to do it from playing a video game. That's just me, though. What do I know? Regardless, but yeah, just people say that a video game can sit down and make you think evil, nasty, malicious thoughts. How many people have been feeling really miserable? I mean, you just feel like, oh God, I wish I could just die crawling a rock, or crawling a rock then die, if that would be fine. And then you just pop in a good old-fashioned game that you just love playing, and all of a sudden your mood just lifts. It's not often that a picture does that. I'm pretty sure pictures do that to plenty of people. But, same with music. Sometimes music does that. Sometimes listening to that tune can just really get to you. But games, because they require you to actually get involved in it yourself, there's a certain different chemistry that goes on that really should be appreciated for what it does to people. It can really make you happy, and it can really freak you out. It can really scare you, because you feel like that avatar that you're controlling, its death can, even though you know it can affect you, you feel as if its death affects you greatly. But yeah, it's how great is that? It's never really looked on as games aren't really looked on as as what they do for people. I mean, like I just said, you can be feeling miserable or feeling angry or anything. You play a good game and you're feeling great all of a sudden. And it's legal. That's the thing. It's not even a substance abuse. You're just playing a video game. Now, granted, there's some games that do tend to turn people into... They do have that effect on people, but that's more or less their choice and their mindset, as opposed to the true addictive quality of the game itself. But yeah, I think that's it, folks. The fight's over. Let's stop this idiocy. This kind of thing breeds the whole fanboy crowd, and unfortunately, it just breeds them with a level of understanding. There's actually a reason for them not to want their games to be much more than fun, because at the very least they want their games to have fun. If they could go try to throw messages here and there, they may ruin it. But I do agree, games do need to have better message. Games that do want to have stories do need to should do the job well. But that being said, it's a video game, and video games are not just limited to one form of a story structure. You got some that are you find out the story as you go, or if you decide to read these books or listen to these audio logs or whatever. You got stories that do that. You got stories that pretty much just tell you through cutscenes. You got stories that pretty much just happen only in the manual or something like that. That doesn't mean that those are the only styles to choose from. There should be more. Hopefully, the game styles will change more. Maybe the Heavenly Rain style of storytelling will get much better, and the story will be happening as you do actions, but it won't be the god-awful quick-time events. Not that I hated Heavy Rain for its quick-time events. I just hate... Quick-time events are the lazy designers' means to get through a video game. It's cool in some instances and where it works well, like in Heavy Rain, or in... I don't know, I guess in the first God of War, when it did kind of make sense, because it was like Kratos was bashing things or doing stuff. So it was more like you pressing that button was him putting that extra force into performing said action. But in all these games, the quick time events just keep coming up. Jesus. But that's another topic altogether, and we've already finished the topic of art of video games. So I hope that has cleared everything up. I do hope that this helps end this idiotic, games need to become art thing. They don't need to become art. They are art. Let's just say that they're art, and there's different strokes for different folks. And move on by our business. Let's make art. Let's make video games art better. But again, that's another topic for another day. I suppose this is the end of episode 1 of the Gamers on Gaming podcast. As far as the extras, look forward to, there will be more extras coming up soon. In the unfortunate process of me constantly re-recording this last part, there have been bits and pieces I think would make very nice extra parts. You know, just me kind of rambling, but I do think the ramblings are relevant, just not completely to, solely to video games being used as art. So, you may see about 5-15 minute video or something like that pop up about that. The other Gamers on Gaming bits, the sequels going sour. Oh, don't expect all of those to be long. That one, the one about Grand Theft Auto was long because that was the more recent Grand Theft Auto full title game that came out, and Grand Theft Auto actually has a pretty long history. So after a bit of a history, you kind of know what you should be expecting from a game. And if the bad sequel is more recent in the sequels in the sequence of video games, then unfortunately there's a lot to cover and there's a lot to be expected for that game. So, it may be a lot that I have to cover, or it may be a lot that I will talk about. But as far as games that are the future sequels gone sour, I don't think the ones that I will be doing will be quite as long as that one. But they may still be long regardless, because I do like to go through stuff in detail. But yeah, don't worry about that. I doubt that they will be that long, and I will try to keep them in manageable bits. So that has been that has been Gamers on Gaming, the podcast for gamers, gaming enthusiasts, and people who just love anything about video games. This has been your host, Shitty Nights. Look forward to episode 2 coming up in a little bit. Not too soon because class has started already, but look forward to it, and I'll see you all in a little bit.